Hey there riders, MotoJourno Chris here today, and I've already covered why to buy a new first motorcycle, but for many prospective riders the situation leans in the other direction, with a used first motorcycle making more sense. Let's take a look at the top 5 reasons why, for those who may still be considering. So first off, it's cheap. Everyone loves a bargain, and buying a bike that a few or more than a few years ago was twice the price new is pretty cool. It may look like it featured in a Mad Max movie and may be in need of some serious TLC and work, but you can't argue with price, and there'll always be a range of options available from almost new, even dealer demo bikes, through to the rattiest and nastiest of two-wheel death machines held together by little more than cable ties and spite. Or there's the basket cases, or bikes which are in pieces, something I would thoroughly discourage you from considering unless you aren't really worried about the riding part for quite a while, or are incredibly talented mechanically. Now find the right desperate seller and you end up with someone's pride and joy, lovingly taken care of and regularly serviced, or this being the beginner motorcycle segment, possibly lovingly repaired after being dropped or low-sided multiple times. Either way, you need a motorcycle to ride, and this is the easiest entry point. Now number 2 is going to be a big one for new riders. If you've listened to anyone, the advice is basically that it's not a matter of if you drop your bike, only when, and this typically applies even to experienced riders. If you do enough miles, it'll probably happen, and buying a pre-dropped bike takes the sting out of the whole situation. Well, actually, no it doesn't. It's the pride which gets bruised when you drop your bike. But on a pre-scratched, dented or damaged bike, the extreme need to get the bike looking perfect probably won't kick in anywhere near as hard. Point 3 is going to vary from person to person, but grabbing a great deal on a used bike and then either doing the bike up a bit after weighing up the costs, or alternatively just having a bike which you don't mind experimenting on, is great if you're a hands-on kind of rider. You don't need to be a full-blown mechanic, but making all those mistakes on your first bike, like snapping off bolts, breaking things, trying out cheap components that you'd never buy again even if someone paid you, it's all part of the motorcycling journey for many riders. Do all that to a brand new motorcycle and you're just destroying the resale value, especially if you've got buyers who know what to look for, and you may end up paying a shop to fix your mistakes. On an older bike, you're just going to be happy doing things yourself until it works, and as long as your bike isn't your only form of transport, that's probably not going to be an issue. Now talking of value, insurance is a good idea, but for young riders, full or comprehensive insurance normally costs a pretty outrageous amount. Think daylight robbery really, and being happy to settle with some more basic insurances on a used bike helps take some of the sting out of that situation. This is point 4, and it's a big one because while at age 30 plus I barely pay more for comprehensive than I would for third party property, which just covers hitting someone else's Maserati or Lambo, back when I started riding, the cost of comprehensive insurance was literally more than I paid for the bike, before the excess or deductible. With that said, the price of my Daytona 675R has barely moved since 2014 as far as insurance, so getting older and having a relatively good record doesn't cure the expensive insurance issues for all motorcyclists. Now number 5 is simply the variety of motorcycles you've got to choose from as a new rider when buying used. Most brands now have their own beginner bikes designed specifically for new riders, and they vary from little 150s up to the 660s with more restricted power. But when you're looking across 20 plus years of motorcycles, the choices are pretty unlimited. And while new beginner bikes tend to be highly competitive, it's doubly so when you're looking at used motorcycles. There's much older generations of bikes which may not have highly useful ABS, but beginner bikes tend to have the least electronics out of any segment, with carbies adding a bit of warm-up to your machine, but certainly not being an issue compared to modern EFI, and also add the ability to personally diagnose the fueling system on your bike. Also, if you've got a budget for a new 150cc, you can probably buy a used 250 to 300cc pretty easily for the same money. And if you've got the moolah for a new 300 to 400cc option, you could probably lash out on a used Ducati 659, Street Triple 660, or a Yamaha MT-07 without breaking a sweat. I personally don't recommend jumping on an R1 or R6 or even a Daytona 675 as your first bike. I think there's a lot more to learn on an R3 or an MT-07 for new riders, even if you're in a location in the world where you're able to buy anything as your first bike. There's awesome used options available because the game has really stepped up in recent times in that beginner segment. So that's my top 5 reasons for buying secondhand for your first motorcycle. If you think I missed anything, let me know as always. Tell me down below in the comments, and don't forget to sub and hit that notification bell. As always, stay safe out there and have a great day. Thank you.